7:35. The big fear for city officials today was that protesters would come here to Central Park in defiance of a court order and gather. That really hasn't happened in any significant numbers, although a television camera does have a way of attracting them. All things considered, when you think about what could have happened in New York today, it really was literally a walk in the park. Dan?
Jim Axelrod reporting live. Thanks. The protesters against Bush policies included many whose opposition to the war in Iraq is deeply personal. CBS's Jim Acosta talked to some of them today.
Among the voices rising up against President Bush were quiet stories of sorrow.
God bless you. God bless your son.
From people like Celeste Zapala.
At my son's funeral, I swore to him I will not be quiet.
Zappala's son, Sergeant Sherwood Baker, died serving the Pennsylvania National Guard in Iraq just 4 months ago.
He never gets to come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. There were no weapons of mass destruction. He never gets that chance.
She joined a small band of grieving relatives who carried the pictures of their sons and daughters, a message that stood out because it was so personal.
The protest organizers placed these family members of fallen soldiers front and center in this demonstration. But the relatives say it's the war that put them in the spotlight. You feel like your son is with you right now?
Yes. I believe my son support my activity.
Fernando Suarez del Solar joined the anti-war movement before the invasion of Iraq. His Marine son, Jesus, was killed days after the fighting started.
And now today here, the people say no more Bush in the White House, say end the occupation in Iraq. I paid the last price. I pay with my son's life.
Protest organizers deny pushing these families as props.
And we have a Democratic coalition, and they're part of the leadership.
Hardly a leader, more a foot soldier, Celeste Zapala came to turn her pain into power.
And then I see my grandson, and he says, I miss my dad.
She hopes America is listening. Jim Acosta, CBS News, New York.
President Bush will be here in Madison Square Garden on Thursday. Till then, he's out campaigning and defending his decision to go to war with Iraq. But CBS's John Roberts reports the president now acknowledges he might have done things differently.
President Bush was in a fighting mood in West Virginia today, leveling no fewer than 9 attacks against John Kerry. From Kerry's vote against funding for the military in Iraq to what Mr. Bush called his opponent's shifting support for West Virginia coal.
He's out there mining for votes. All I'm asking you to do is tell your friends and neighbors, be careful of somebody whose position shifts in the wind.
But Mr. Bush himself seemed to shift position, now acknowledging shortfalls in planning for the Iraq War, telling Time magazine he would have pursued different tactics had he known that an enemy that should have surrendered or been done in escaped and lived to fight another day. The president termed it a consequence of catastrophic success.
I understand the president's now describing his Iraq policy as a catastrophic success. I, like most Americans, have no idea what that means. But it is long past time for this president to accept personal responsibilities for his failures and for his performance.
While the Iraq War remains a central campaign issue, a new shot is being fired in an old war. On a pro-Kerry website, Texas former lieutenant governor is saying on camera for the first time he helped George Bush escape duty in Vietnam.
I got a young man named George W. Bush in the National Guard when I was lieutenant governor of Texas, and I'm not necessarily proud of that, but I did it.
This new attack, though getting far less attention than the Swift Boat veterans' ads leveled at John Kerry, marks yet another escalation in the war of words over who would make the better commander-in-chief. Leadership may be a legitimate issue in this election, but, argues one prominent war hero, Vietnam has no place in the debate.
We need to honor these men for their service, and we ought to say that chapter is over, and we're never going to let it happen again.
There are pluses and minuses for both candidates in keeping the issue of Vietnam service alive, but with so many outside groups now jumping into the fray, the campaigns may have lost the ability to control that debate. Dan?
John Roberts, live from the convention floor. Thanks, John. Vice President Dick Cheney arrived in New York today, and he came right here to Madison Square Garden to check out the podium. Vice President Cheney will address the convention on Wednesday night. Still to come tonight, targeting American civilians in Afghanistan and inside the new hotspot of Iraq, when the CBS Evening News continues.
You can't turn back time, but you can take your own sweet time. Ask your doctor about Cialis, the only erectile dysfunction tablet clinically proven to both work fast and work up to 36 hours. Men with ED and their partners agree that Cialis improves erectile function for a satisfying experience. Cialis lets you respond to your partner when the moment is right, just like you two want to. Cialis is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain or certain alpha blockers for prostate problems or high blood pressure.